You know what? No, you're right. No, you're good.
Dudettes. I know it's been a while, but I want to let more news pile up since I did those semi-live videos over the weekend for the NFL draft, or even like I think it was Thursday and Friday when they were on when the Chargers made their picks live. But just want to run down through all the picks real quick to make sure we're all up to speed. So yes, with the first pick, their first round, their first pick for the Chargers, they picked Jerry Tillery, who was a guy who kept getting mocked there, even in some like reports or interviews, he said they weren't really talking to him even like a week or two before the draft, which is a little bit surprising to me if you're gonna pick a guy at that position and you haven't really talked to him. And I'll even get to another player that they drafted who they kind of do the same thing. But yes, they picked him, and of course he has to be from Notre Dame. He better be good because he doesn't look like a prototypical type of guy at his position. So he's definitely a guy that's on a prove it basis for me. So every single time he's not good or fails at his position, then I'm gonna be talking about it and I'll be on him 100%. That's what happens when you're a first round pick. Just the same way I was with Mike Williams, the wide receiver out of Clemson, who struggled his first year, but now finally got it going in his second. So I'm a little bit more easy on him. But with their second pick, they went with one of my favorite players that I would project him to get in the first round, in Nasir Adderley, the safety out of Delaware, who had first round potential in my opinion, but apparently he was one of their 13 players of the Chargers that didn't have a first round grade. Somehow Tillery did, but they were able to get him, and I've just been hearing some good stuff even from the defensive coordinator, Gus Bradley, saying, because he was up in Seattle when he had all the Legion of Boom, as they called it, when they went to Super Bowls, saying that Nasir Adderley, because of a Derwin James who can be like a Cam Chancellor, Adderley could be like the Earl Thomas. Obviously he's not built like him, but just be able to run free and have Derwin James up closer to the line, playing linebacker position as well, would be amazing for this defense. So I can't wait to see how that goes. And then Trey Pipkins, another offensive tackle, a guy that they're gonna look at. They weren't even a lot of teams really looking to draft him at that position. He says he was even surprised that the Chargers drafted him there, but they know it's a developmental type of player. They wanted to get him at that position for some reason, even though I'm pretty sure they could have waited, because he was even surprised any team picked him as well, especially that early. But another guy who's going to be on a prove it basis, in my opinion. I'm only going to give him about 2 years. Other than that, got to go kind of like a Forrest Lamp, in my opinion. And then with their fourth pick, they went Notre Dame again with Drew Tranquil, who I was kind of a little bit more high on the other linebacker, Tavon Coney. But this guy is pretty good because he's a little bit more versatile. He can play the linebacker, but also go up to safety as well. He's a pretty big dude at his position. His only problem is staying healthy pretty much, but hopefully he can do that. Another kind of guy who's on a tryout basis, in my opinion, just to see if he's even going to be healthy. Then with their fifth round pick, they finally went quarterback in Easton Stick out of North Dakota State. Another well-known quarterback that came out there was Carson Wentz, who's been the off and on quarterback for Philadelphia Eagles whenever he's healthy, but he is their most winning quarterback at that Division II school. has some really good numbers, can run as well, but he doesn't have overall great size. I guess he's kind of like a project also, just because they have Tyrod Taylor too as the backup. So we'll see how that goes. Should be very interesting to see what he can make of himself. Then in the 6th round, they got Emeka Egbule, a linebacker / outside linebacker out of Houston, who did get a lot more stats. I think I mentioned in the live video that he got a lot of stats because of Ed Oliver, who was their main top player and who went number 9 to the Buffalo Bills. So he can do some stuff with other talented players, which is what Chargers defense has already. So kind of looking could be a very interesting fit in that defense. And then their final pick of the 7th round draft, a defensive tackle, and Cortez Broughton out of Cincinnati. Never really heard much of him. Pretty crazy. They had Gerald Willis there, a guy I was really high on out of Miami, who I wanted them to get in the 3rd round, but they somehow didn't pull the trigger, and he even went undrafted fully, which is pretty crazy. Even his dad was wondering why that happened, but they went with this guy. Hopefully he can prove to be pretty good. Cincinnati isn't obviously the top Division I school, but just have to wait and see. Of course, I cut my hair, but just tired of it. Always blowing in the wind, freaking annoying, and then it's all off, so decided to go a little bit shorter since it will be getting hot sooner. And on to some USC news. And yes, I did kind of recap during those videos, but the first USC guy selected was Chuma Edoga, the offensive tackle. He went to the New York Jets, so he'll be paired up with the ex-quarterback at USC, Sam Darnold there. Maybe he'll get a chance to start, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be a bench guy as far as right now. Then the next guy picked was Amon Marshall, the defensive back from USC, who went to the Baltimore Ravens. And looks like they're going to keep him at that position, which is kind of interesting to me. I thought he'd play something else, but good luck to him. Then the next guy was another defensive back in the safety of Marvell Tell. He went to the Indianapolis Colts. And you kind of wondered why, because they already have a guy in Armani Hooker there, but could be a good backup, maybe play along him within a year or two. They obviously saw something in him to pick him in the 5th round, so good luck to him. Then also Cameron Smith, the linebacker I was really high on out of all these guys from USC, got picked up by Minnesota, so it's good for him because they have a good defensive coach, or actually a head coach in Zimmer, who's really good at the defensive side. And hopefully he could be starting for them in the next couple years. He's a really smart guy, so I'm pretty sure he will. And then a lot of other USC guys that went undrafted, but basically signed a day or two after the draft ended. Go through them real quick. So Porter Gustin was the longest because, as you remember, he had that drug test that came back positive from the NFL of that one drug he takes to help him get better quicker, basically get healthier quicker. So he actually went undrafted, which was kind of surprising, but he did sign with the New Orleans Saints. Then Janae Harris, a pretty good safety in my opinion from USC, went to the Philadelphia Eagles. Aka Cedric Ware, who's a pretty consistent running back for USC in his time there the past 2 seasons, went to Washington. I won't call him what the other name is because it is a derogatory term. I don't know why that the people still root for that team if they still have that derogatory name. People won't root for the Oakland N-word, so I don't know why you still have that. Then Malik Dorton, defensive tackle from USC, went to the Raiders, so good luck to him. Toa Lobendon, a guy who I've always been hot and cold on just because I never liked him at his position. He went to the Jets as well as Udoga did earlier in the draft, so a lot of USC guys going over to the Jets, so maybe he has a chance to make the practice squad. We'll see. And also other stats came out where this was the 81st straight draft that the USC player has been selected, which is pretty awesome. It's definitely I think the next closest team in their division or conference is like at 12, so it's a major thing that they're going on with that streak. Then also with the 4 guys, they went up to 509 total guys selected in the NFL draft, which makes it the most all-time from any school, which is great. I mean, to only have 4 guys, and even before that, I think the first picture you saw, it was like at 505, and that was still leading all schools, so of course they had to add a little bit, and all these guys were still added onto teams. A few more guys could get added on. I'll probably mention real quick in a later video maybe of who else maybe got added to the Chargers roster from USC, but we'll definitely take a look at that soon. Sorry, I know this video might be jumpy again, but want to get through some of these names that the Chargers did sign. They signed 19 guys who went undrafted. And yeah, we'll get a rundown. So obviously one of the first guys was Chris Brown, the guard out of USC, who I've been pretty high on. I think he can make a team, especially as a backup, but maybe a guy that could go in for an injury or two. So I think he definitely has a chance, especially since for the past couple years, at least one guy from this whole group of 19 has made the roster for the Chargers. So definitely a guy I'm pretty high on to do that. Also a guy in Josh Bryant, I believe his name is, from a defensive tackle from North Carolina State. Obviously they got Justin Jones there last year in the draft, so they'll see if they could strike gold twice. Then Blake Camper, a tackle out of South Carolina, should be interesting. And then Josh Corcoran, a North Illinois linebacker. Jeremy Cox, a running back from Old Dominion. Kamon Hall, a cornerback from North Texas. Daniel Helm, a tight end from Duke, who I kind of studied before, but I just didn't think even he was worth drafting really, because he was just pretty average. And then even though his guy got picked pretty high in the draft, which I'll probably talk about in another video, I just didn't see him really do that much stuff and really act all that crazy as far as stats wise, but he's going to try out. There's also Reggie Howard, a defensive tackle from Toledo. Bradford Lemons, a cornerback from Furman. Also got Coda Martin, a guard from Syracuse, who's a pretty big guy, so you just never know. Jason Moore, a wide receiver from Findlay. Tyler Newsome, another Notre Dame player, but he's a punter, which is a position that they really need. So who knows what he can do. And then a defensive end from Virginia named Chris Peace. A Lamar defensive back named Rodney Randall. So he could play cornerback or safety. Pretty sure he'll try out for both. Then another tight end from Michigan State named Matt Sokol. Another guy I didn't really think he could get drafted. He didn't, and so now he's just gonna be on a tryout. So good luck to him. Then Roderick Teamer, safety out of Tulane. Trevion Thompson, a wide receiver from Clemson. Obviously, didn't really hear much from him, even though he graduated from Clemson, who just won the national championship. But obviously, even the younger guys there were better than him, so who knows if he could even make this roster. Then also Tanner Volson. He's a North Dakota State center, who obviously I'm pretty sure they saw after drafting the quarterback Easton Stick from there and saw how good he was. So pretty sure that's the main reason why he's getting a tryout. Then Elijah Zesi, he's a linebacker from Pittsburgh. So some pretty good name schools there, like at least Division 1 known, and then a lot of Division 2, maybe Division 3 schools. But see just how this goes. At least one of these guys will make it according to the Chargers, and we'll just have to wait and see. Going on. So yes, Duke has the 6th straight top #1 recruiting class for basketball. Obviously, it really hasn't done much for them anyways as far as championships. I think they only got pretty much one out of there, and closest they got was like an Elite 8 a few times. So it really doesn't matter if you have the #1 class or not. But I think these guys are a pretty interesting group, because they aren't like the best #1 guys overall, but they are very talented on their own. So I think they could gel very well, especially with a guy like Trey Jones coming back, in my opinion. So they did have the guys sign officially: Vernon Carey, Matthew Hurt, and Cassius Stanley. So they're all officially ready to go to Duke this season coming up. Then also ex-Duke player who's been in the league for 2 years, Jason Tatum, who plays with the Celtics, said it was a tough decision for him because he really thought about and wanted to come back. But I guess when you're featured in top 5 picks overall, you kind of have to just go for it. But he would have been amazing if he did come back, in my opinion. It would have been really awesome for that year, and I think they definitely could have won the championship that year, especially because of how well he played in the NBA and led the Celtics to the Eastern Conference Finals. But Vernon Carey, the Duke guy coming in, did win Defensive Player of the Year in Florida, so that's good for him. Hopefully he can bring some of that for us. Then they said Cassius Stanley played very well in the Allen Iverson Classic, which is kind of like an all-star game basically, but just for guys who couldn't get into the McDonald's or Michael Jordan All-American game. So good on them. And then also a little bit of Duke news: the quarterback Daniel Jones, who I kind of maybe wanted the Chargers to get if he was available, but he did get drafted 5th or 6th overall to the Giants, and of course a lot of the Giants fans hate it. And maybe, yeah, they probably should have went somewhere else as far as picking a better player. Maybe they just fell in love with that quarterback and had to get him right away. But good to him. He's probably one of the first Duke guys to ever be drafted that high, I think, in history, but you never know. I don't really know that much about the whole history of any sports because I barely got into football my sophomore year of high school, which was like in 06, so I know a lot, but like I said, it's a lot of useless information, so let's keep on going. finally USC dipped into the transfer portal pool and picked up a tackle from Tennessee in the name of Drew Richmond. He's going to be a senior, so only has 1 year of eligibility, but I guess he was really top prospect coming out of high school, but just never really figured out there. And I guess he didn't like the coaching change going on over there, even though I think Jeremy Pruitt's a good guy, but pretty sure he got chewed out a lot. So USC could always use a tackle here and there. It's probably the one position they don't have solidified on their offensive line, so definitely welcome him, and he'll probably get a starting spot no matter what, so glad to have him. Then Kyle Ford has been officially 100% cleared by doctors, ready to go. The wide receiver coming in for USC as a freshman this year. He's one of the top wide receivers, so I'm glad they got at least one of the guys. They had both pretty much for a month or two, but of course Brew McCoy had to go and leave to Texas, but at least he got one of the guys who could be the next Juju Smith in my opinion, just because of his build. But yes, glad he's already ready to go. Has time to go through off-season workouts and then through summer workouts to be officially ready and blow up the college football scene in my opinion. Then two guys that are projected to go in next year's draft officially, that they have them in like the top 200 players going into this next college football season, is Christian Rector, the right end from USC, and also the the wide receiver, Michael Pittman Jr. I think by the end of the year, there's going to be a few more guys on that team or on the list of guys draft eligible because they're seniors, but they're just going to show up a lot better this year, in my opinion, than the lackluster effort in a 5-7 season that they did last year. It's my opinion, but have to wait and see. Then a grad assistant who I think is doing a very good job so far, especially recruiting wise, is Chris Hawkins, because he knows the game very well. He was a captain while at USC a few years ago, but definitely in recruiting he's been awesome because I'm pretty sure he has the ear of both Elias Ricks and Dorian Warren Green. I forget how his three names go, but they're top defensive backs they were from Mater Dei, who looked to be a pretty stout team this year, but they both had to transfer because they want to be able to graduate early, but for some reason Mater Dei doesn't allow that anymore, or I guess certain classes, even though JT Daniels a year ago was able to do that. So yes, I think one of them is already at Narbonne, which is a pretty good LA school. I don't know where the other one's gonna go, but definitely, hopefully he has the ear of both of those guys and could get one, if not both of those guys, come to USC, because if you get both those guys, top defensive guys from the state of California, then you're definitely going to be bolstering up that lineup and definitely can make them play early, in my opinion. Then also a weird note that Madden NFL, the newest one, is allowing I guess a certain way you play. You're allowed to play with college teams, and USC was picked as one of those teams. It's pretty crazy. Don't know how that's going to work or how that makes sense for Madden, but should be very interesting. Congrats to them, I guess. And yeah, good luck to anybody who's going to play that. And I'm not a fan of Madden, but I know a lot of people are. So hopefully this is the end of this video, but yes, they're saying that 3 ways that the Lakers could land a guy at point guard like Kemba Walker this offseason. I think he's the most obvious choice, especially if they swing out on a lot of the top guys. I honestly still believe there's a slim chance that LeBron is going to be able to talk to Kawhi and be able to convince him to come. With KD, it seems more unlikely, and Klay Thompson as well. just depends on who resigns over there. But I think if you get a guy in Kemba and Kawhi Leonard, I mean, that's freaking awesome right there, in my opinion. Then also both, I think all like Kurt Rambis, Rob Pelinka, Jeannie Buss, whoever else went to have second meetings second interviews with Monty Williams and Ty Lue. But it's kind of weird because there's some news coming out that it's kind of being said that Kurt Rambis, the ex-Laker and basically assistant coach under Phil Jackson, and ex-Minnesota coach, which he didn't really do good at, but that it's kind of being pitched that if you want the head coaching job for the Lakers, you kind of have to make him an assistant coach, or he's going to be like some type of top advisory, which is kind of weird because it all kind of leads back to his wife, who is really good friends with Jeannie Buss, and a lot of executives are saying behind the back that she's kind of like a puppeteer behind the whole process, even more powerful than Jeannie Buss, which is pretty crazy, who owns and runs the team mostly. So I don't understand how that's going to work out. And of course Monty Williams is up for the Phoenix Suns job as well, so you just never know. I'm pretty sure he's going to wait. I believe the draft lottery is happening May, but I'm not 100% sure. But we'll just have to wait and see who gets. I mean, if the Suns get the top pick, you might as well go there. But you just never know. Then also a couple of ex-USC guys, especially when I started watching USC, that were at the top. Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart, who both work for Fox Sports now, but also one of their colleagues is Urban Meyer, the ex-Ohio State and Florida head coach. They said if Coach Helton stumbles or doesn't do as good again this year for USC football, then they kind of want to recruit him and are going to push him to be the next USC coach, which is okay, but I just think Urban Meyer has too many health issues and mental issues really to fully go back into coaching, in my opinion, even though he's somewhat young as far as a coach in his 50s, but I just think there's just too much crap he'd have to still deal with, especially at USC. Could be a good fit, but you just never know. It's going to be tough. I honestly prefer if one of those other guys would be assistants as coaches, but I don't know. Urban Meyer could be a home run, could be disastrous, of course. Then a few Chargers guys that they could look at in free agency that are still available, in my opinion, that they should look at. Defensive end Shane Ray, who is from Denver. He's available still. He's still a very young guy. Also a guy like Michael Crabtree, who did pretty well for the Raiders, even though he's getting older. Another guy you could steal from the division. Another guy like Ndamukong Suh, who was just with the LA Rams, and he could fill a need, especially if Jerry Tillery, your first round pick, doesn't end up being so hot. You could always just plug him in there anyways. That's in my opinion. But in a lot of USC sports around the school completed their Pac-12 championships. So I believe it was the men's golf, and then the women's beach volleyball, and then also the women's lacrosse, and then I don't know if it was women's regular swimming or water polo that won the Pac-12 championship, but congrats to all of them. It's always good to at least get that start off, to get that championship, the Pac-12, your whole conference, and then hopefully do well to get the national championship. But good luck to all of them. And then yes, finally Angels and Airwaves released a brand new song, which seems like forever, and they're also released the fact that they're going to be touring later this year. I believe in September and October. In early October they'll be in the LA Anaheim area. So I've never seen them live, even though they're basically my favorite band. And I'm pretty sure, I was pretty surprised too that they're actually on a record label this year, or this CD, which I'm pretty sure that's why they're going to be doing a lot of going around the country promoting, or even music videos as well, because they didn't really do that much as in the past before, because they're always running their own company. But now they signed with Rise Records, so it's the first time they've been with the label since their first 2 records. So hopefully get the music and the notoriety out there, help them out. I know they're busy with movies and TV shows for TBS and all this stuff. I know Tom DeLonge is, so I'm surprised he even made a deal like this, but obviously I'm happy, and the song is pretty much kick-ass that you heard in the first part of this video, hopefully. So thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know what y'all think, and have a great rest of your day. If you could ignore my back neck fact, but pretty cool Lakers shirt, really cheap, so I'm glad I at least got something of LeBron James. Hopefully he can do a lot better than he has been.
I know you don't do this, but if you quarrel with your wife,
God bless you.
you don't know.
No, and I'm sure you don't quarrel with yours either. I know. I went too far.